I'm Alexis. I'm the office manager for Prospective Home Inspections, and we are currently located in Naperville.
Jeff, I'm the founder and only inspector for Prospective Home Inspections. And as Alexis just said, we're here in Naperville, Illinois. So at one point in time, I had my daughter answering the phones for us. That worked out pretty well, but then she decided that she wanted to move on to do some other things in the world. And so I had to find an answering service. And I realized I was going to be in a pickle. I don't have time to answer the phone. So we started looking around, came across ACC, signed up, and it has been nothing but fantastic since. I onboarded with Kim, and she just went through the process and walked me through everything, and it's just been fabulous. I want to say it must have been a Google search, just looking around. I think at one point in time I was with one of the other bigger folks before my daughter came on board, and we weren't real pleased with how they were handling things. So after we ran into this snafu with the other company, I think we just Google, and you guys had a nice Google reviews. The pricing package was really good, as I recall. I liked the answers I got when I had some questions about how pricing was going to go. And then having failed with the other two companies, you guys were the next big company to try.
It's been amazing. I've been with Prospective Home Inspections for roughly 7 months now. So when I started in the beginning, I had to introduce myself to the different hired out services that we have, ACC being the biggest one. And when I took the time to introduce myself, I was first introduced to Kim Welch, and she was so helpful. We were able to sit down and have a meeting together, video conference, and through that, she was able to take me through everything, through ISN, through who our set team is, and the agents and the managers we have for our team who are answering the phone calls and handling day-to-day client communications. And so just by her walking me through everything in the very beginning really helped me to have a great understanding not only of what ACC was able to accomplish for us, but also how the better understanding of how the home inspection field is, because this is the first job I've had in the home inspection field, so I was very new, very unfamiliar with the process of everything. So being able to see communication happening not only with our clients, but also with buyers agents, listing agents, if it's just directly with a client who's selling or buying a home, everything in between. So her taking me through everything was extremely helpful, very welcoming. And then from there, being able to listen in, I've been able to hear behind the scenes how everyone at ACC handles talking to clients, answering their questions, and things of that nature. And the biggest thing that always stood out to me was not only how respectful and kind everyone was, but how informative their answers were when clients did have a question. It wasn't a simple just yes or no answering. They would provide further information for them, pointing them even to our website, or if there was more specific questions on a property or a process, our specific process, they would escalate it to either myself or Jeff so that we could follow through with them. So helping us to make sure that we're fully taking care of our clientele, which is super important to us. There have been no complaints from us or from any clients. I couldn't be more grateful because, again, they helped my transition into this field seamless, so I greatly appreciate that.
I wish I could have written down every time I'm in the field and someone will say, oh, I talked to Teresa, I talked to Robert. They were fantastic. I really appreciate how they handle them. What do they do for you? Or they think it's a local office. They think they are talking to somebody I've had sitting here, and that blows me away that it can come across that tightly with people.
I'd probably say when I have specific questions, whether it be not necessarily about something that happened with a client or an agent or anything like that, but more if it's something that has to do within our system. I know with Kim, I've had a lot of back and forth with her. She's helped me a lot being able to understand how the ISN, how we can be best utilizing it for our company and for what our needs are specifically. So I think that has been the most valuable to make sure that we're utilizing everything that we have for our process to make it smoother, to make it easier, not as many steps in between. So I would say for me personally, because I do communicate with them pretty frequently, any questions like that, those have been very helpful for my day-to-day to make my job easier.
Something I had noticed is when my daughter was answering the phone, my inspection profit, or what we were charging for inspection, was nice and healthy. She was selling a lot of auxiliary services. Then we started with ACC and kind of started listening to phone calls, and ACC wasn't necessarily talking up the auxiliary services. However, Alexis reached out and said, hey, can you guys start pushing this? Sure enough, they started pushing it, and we are now within dollars of where it was at when my daughter was answering the phone. So they took that ball, we asked for it, and they took it, and they ran.
So I think that's been one of the most enjoyable parts of my job is with being able to listen to these calls because again, there's so much that I'm able to learn from each individual agent. We do have a set team, and in the beginning, getting familiar with everyone who answers the most calls, seeing how everyone handles client communication differently, but still very efficiently and still, of course, leading with that respect and kindness has been really insightful. There are many times when I'm listening to a client ask a question on a call and I start thinking, oh man, I don't know how I'd answer this question, or maybe it was a little bit confused or anything like that. And then just hearing how the different agents will either ask a follow-up question to clarify that they're understanding what the client's asking, or just the way that they go about answering the question in general. Again, it's never just a simple yes or no. It's, well, here, let me help you understand this. I want to explain this to you in a way so that they can understand, but never in a way that's condescending. It's purely always comes off in that we want you to walk away from the conversation from this phone call better than when you first called in. You can always feel by the end of the conversation the client either feels more confident or more at ease in going into the process. I think that's been one of my most favorite things, being able to listen to everyone's conversations and just how they go about communicating with the clients. It's been amazing.
I would say Robert and Rachel are two that handle a lot of our phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
There have been times where I've had some questions. I've called in and asked them. They get the answers, or if they don't have the answers right then and there, they make sure they do the research and then come back with an answer. Another example was when we did have this one alleged complaint. I reached out to Robert. We had a conversation about it. He was as surprised as I was. But then after he sent the recording and had a chance, first he listened to it and said he didn't necessarily see anything. But what was really nice is that he spent the next 2 days reaching out to me to make sure that where I stood on this, did I agree that it wasn't a problem? So the follow through is just absolutely fantastic. Having some conversations with both Rachel and Robert about how we're doing different services. As Alexis said, they take the time to listen. They make sure that they communicate clearly. And it's just always impressive every time I talk with them because they do a nice job.
So that was definitely being able to look at the hard numbers is something that was also part of my job description, is seeing, okay, where have we been up until this point? Where do we want to go? And how can we get to that end goal? And so from last year, roughly in May, up until now, our overall gross profit was able to go up, I believe, 37%, which was a huge increase and something that we were very happy with. For our actual cost per inspection has gone up from around last year to this time, has gone up 11%. So the actual price per inspection, which again has been amazing, especially with different things such as inflation and all the different changes in the housing market. And then our other greatest improvement has been with our Google top impression rate. So our top impression rate is directly affected by how quickly and efficiently we are answering calls and booking them. So if the phones are just ringing and no one's answering them, then our impression rate will fall. And so our impression rate has been able to stay over 98% for several months now. And that is a direct impact from ACC being able to effectively not only book these calls, but answer them in a timely manner. Again, with part of my job, I have to listen to all the phone calls. And something that I noticed consistently is that ACC does not let the phone rings longer than 20 seconds before it's answered by someone. Even if everyone is busy or tied up with another client on the line, someone will answer the call and say, gather their information and say, All of our schedulers are currently busy, but we will give you a call back as soon as someone is available, and they always follow through on that. And so that is also something that we greatly appreciate, because again, this field is very fast moving, very fast paced. And so we want to make sure that we're touching all these clients as quickly as possible and try to accommodate them in a timely manner. And so that has also been we're very grateful that they are very efficient in that regard.
So this year we upped our Google budget. We're spending more with Google. When people call, then they're talking to the answering center, whoever's answering the phone at that particular day. But the way that they're landing those, we've got a great booking rate. I don't know if Alexis has the exact percentage, but they're the first line. The first people that they're talking to is ACC, and they know nothing about prospective home inspections except for the reviews or the things that they've seen. But yet the answering center is the one that's landing these inspections. They're the ones that are walking them through. And so we've seen that. That's helped to increase our sales because of how good of a job they're doing answering the phone.
I definitely encourage them to go ahead and work with ACC. I definitely would recommend it to anyone else who's in this field looking for an answering service, because again, any notes that we've given to the team, they promptly and efficiently have been able to implement them. If they have questions, they always reach out. Even if they are on call with a client on the other line, they'll ask if they can put them on hold, and they'll directly reach out to either myself or Jeff to get clarification on any questions that they may have. And again, just very efficient in communication. We're not having to chase after anybody for answers. And even if there is a question we have about a phone call that was taken or a note that was left in the inspection form, we always follow through with them and ask, and then they always provide an answer. I definitely would greatly recommend them to anybody who's interested.
I would have to say what's our job as inspectors is to look at a property and find things that need to be improved. Well, I can sit here and say there's really nothing we would ask for ACC to improve on. What I would say to another inspection company is you really need to give them a try. I've been just blown away again by how people think it's my office that they're talking to. I have to tell them, no, that's an answering service. And the people's response is, you've got to be kidding me. So to another inspection company, you've got to give them a try, because you will not be disappointed.
Absolutely. I would definitely recommend ACC to other home inspectors.
Yeah, yes, ACC is fantastic. You need to give them a try. You will not be disappointed. Do it.